Hello, all you workers of the world out there, and welcome to Undeclared Bajor. My name is Fletcher. About to say hi is Data.
Sorry. Hi! Sorry, I had to yawn a lot for a second there.
You okay? Today we're going to discuss and review Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 4, Episode 16, Bar Association. Alternate title, The Romunist Manifesto.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I feel like that almost feels like there's Romulans involved, but it's not your fault that his name's Rom, so, you know.
I would just call that the Romulan Manifesto.
Ah, yeah, that's fair.
As always, you can expect full spoilers up through the episode being discussed, and a possible small number of minor spoilers for later in the series kept to an appropriate minimum.
You're gonna spoil Siri? Oh no.
Siri, download all episodes of Undeclared Bajor. So let's see if that works. Bar Association originally aired February 19th, 1996. It was written by Ira Stephen Bear and Robert Hewitt Wolfe, ISB and RHW. Story by Barbara J. Lee and Jennifer A. Lee.
Jennifer with one N, which I don't feel like I've seen before.
Oh yeah, I didn't notice that.
This is, by the way, okay, let me double check Barbara here. This is Jennifer A. Lee's only episode of Star Trek and only credit on IMDb of any kind.
Okay.
Only episode of Star Trek for Barbara, but she also has a 2019 short where she played a restaurant patron in The Chains That Bind. So after an absence from the screen of 23 years, she made her return.
Restaurant patron.
As restaurant patron in a short, yes.
What a role that was. Okay, so I assume they're friends of somebody or something, I don't know. And I don't know if they're related or...
It'd be a weird coincidence if they weren't.
Is this just all the information we have about them?
I'm looking for more, but I'm honestly not... Hold on.
Huh.
Let's see if these Lees are mentioned anymore, and I'm just not spotting it. Oh, damn it, Lita's in this episode. Searching the page for Lee was not a good idea. Okay.
Do Lee space.
So they're sisters. I do have that in here. And that, yes, that is all of the additional information that is available.
The mysterious Lee sisters. Who are those mysterious people who wrote an episode in season 1?
That's so long ago, I couldn't possibly tell you.
Well, they can join the ranks of those people.
Yeah.
They show up, they pitch one episode, and then they fade into history.
Apparently this story was just pitched by them, because that's what the thing said, right? Like, story by. So they're like, hey, we have this idea for a story. And the producer's like, okay, yeah, that could be like a B story to something else. And so they tried to like put it in Rejoined as a B story, and then they were thinking maybe Crossfire. And eventually they were like, you know what? This is big enough that it deserves its own story.
We'll see if we both agree on that subject. But and the episode is directed by LeVar Burton.
Oh, right, yeah. We've seen him once or twice.
Yeah, he's this is his third.
I was just reading an article by was it Rick Berman? Or about, no, probably not by. Let me see if I can find the one that I was looking at. But it was just like, he kind of regrets letting actors... here it is. Because, so, basically, on Star Trek The Next Generation, at one point, Jonathan Frakes comes to him and he's like, hey, I want to direct something.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, well, I mean, you don't really know anything about directing. You'd have to, like, put in some serious work. And so he was like, okay. According to Jonathan Frakes, he was like, you have to go to school. And so Frakes says, I spent about 300 hours in the editing room, on the dubbing stage, learning about the directing side of things. And I kept looking over the shoulder of directors. I took some seminars, read some textbooks. And I wouldn't go away. And finally Rick was like, okay, fine, I'll give you a shot. And he gives him The Offspring, which because I was thrilled about that because it was a data show, and data shows are always gold.
Uh-huh.
So that went well for him. But then now Rick Berman has opened the door. And so all of these other actors are like, hey, we want to direct. So like LeVar Burton is coming in, Gates McFadden is coming in, Patrick Stewart is coming in. And they're all like, hey, we want turns directing too. And he's like, oh yeah, it became like this huge thing, this hassle, first Next Generation, then on DS9. And some of them were really good. And, some of them I gave more chances to, like Frakes did a good job. So he got more. LeVar did a good job. He got some more. But he doesn't specify, but he does call out that on DS9 in particular, a lot of people want to direct and not all of them were very good at it. He's like, sometimes it was very hard because one of our finest actors, and I'm not going to say who, did a very mediocre job at directing. And in fact, there was more than one. There were maybe 2 or 3 actors over the course of the show who didn't do a great job of directing, and I have no interest in giving them a second assignment, which was very hard because these were people I was working with every day.
I mean...
LeVar Burton is doing this episode after having come out of that and apparently been one of the ones to actually do a good job, is the point that I was getting to, I guess.
Right. Well, I mean, did he direct on Next Gen?
It says here that he did 2 Next Gen episodes and 26 other Star Trek episodes over the course of, up until this article was written. He could have done more since then, who knows?
Sure. All right.
I like the mention of... Sorry, it says Gates McFadden, who oversaw that one episode where Barclay devolved into a spider.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time trying to puzzle out who Rick Berman thinks is a bad director. But that's all I'll say about that.
Okay, there you go.
So anyway, in this episode, what happens in this episode? So the Defiant pulls into its parking space after an apparently uneventful mission, flying around the Gamma Quadrant doing something.
Not fighting the Dominion, that's for sure.
Right, just flying around. Just flexing over there in the Gamma Quadrant.
Because they did so well the one time that we saw them go up against the Dominion in the Gamma
Right. I don't know what they're trying to do, like just provoke a fight, or... Also, I want to bring up this thing that keeps bothering me, which is that the Defiant is clearly parked at the station for the whole episode.
Yeah.
But we never see it in the establishing shots of the station.
Yeah, I noticed that in like I don't think I've ever noticed it before, and I'm sure it's like every time because it would cost more to shoot the model and have a Defiant like glued to the outside of the model or whatever. But in like it's a big deal about Worf at the end of the episode being on the Defiant, and then you cut to like the credits with the wide shot of the station, and I was like, wait a second! Like that was the first time I've ever noticed that.
Yep. That was really weird because it was just like right after.
Yep.
And I was looking, I was like, maybe it's like hidden kind of on the other side, but it's not there. It's not there. Come on, guys.
Well, supposedly the place is always busy with all these ships docked at pylons and things, and you never see any of them in like the most of the wide shots, at least.
Yeah, like sometimes you'll see like a ship dock at the station, like at the beginning, just like the Defiant did at the beginning of this one.
Yep.
And then you'll never see that ship like on any of the exterior shots.
Or like in the last episode where you had the what were those guys called? The smuggling guys.
Oh, the Boslicks?
Yeah, the Boslicks. Yeah, they were docked there. We didn't see them.
Yeah. I don't think we ever even saw what their ship was supposed to look like. We were just supposed to assume they had a ship. Maybe a ship came and dropped them off.
Well, no, because Kern finds the contraband in their hold, Odo says.
So, yeah, I don't know. You'd think they'd pay attention to that detail. It doesn't seem that hard, but whatever. Anyway, Worf and Dax discuss minor tune-ups for the Defiant, and Worf says, "What a fine ship the Defiant is," and Dax jokes that he's in love.
And he freaks out for a second when she's like, with the ship.
Oh, Worf. At Quark's, O'Brien and Bashir strut in wearing medieval battle gear to reenact the Battle of Clontarf. They are greeted by Lita, who has been here the whole time, just like Michael Eddington. Just trust us.
Yeah, she's popped up It's fine. It's fine.
She's been in like 2 episodes, but whatever.
There's a note in here that Miles O'Brien claims to be descended from Irish King Brian Boru, who this says died in 1014, and also the Battle of Clontarf is 1014, so I suspect these 2 things could be related. But anyway, and it says, this is largely correct, as the Irish surname O'Brien literally means descended of Brian Boru.
Yeah.
So,
I did go ahead. I Googled a couple of things that were brought up in this episode and looked them up in Wikipedia. And yes, Brian Boru did found the O'Brien dynasty.
And this also points out that he oversimplifies the Battle of Clontarf as being Irish versus Vikings, but in reality, it was Irishmen of Munster versus the Vikings of Dublin and the Irish of Leinster.
Oh.
So, yeah, I mean,
Well, we're going to have more to say about that based on O'Brien's narrative of the 1902 anthracite coal strike, which is very much wrong, according to what I read in Wikipedia. But and I also want to bring up that there's a great YouTube video I saw somewhere. I'll find it and I'll put it in the description. But people have done research and done calculations and models and stuff and whatever, and found that beyond a certain point in the past, everybody in the past who had living descendants is a direct ancestor of everybody living today.
Oh, good.
And for Europeans, that point is about 1,200 years ago.
Hmm.
So if you have one drop of European blood, you are descended from every European who lived more than 1,200 years ago who has living descendants.
I was about to say, who has living descendants. Yeah, that's
right.
That's an important caveat there, but yeah.
Which means that everybody with any kind of European ancestry is, for example, a descendant of Charlemagne.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not that impressive for a person in the 2370 or 71 or whatever to claim descent from a person who was born in the year 941.
Well, but in this future, there's been interbreeding with people on other planets, so that would throw.
So maybe that slowed down or interrupted that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they would definitely throw a new twist into it at the very least.
We need some mathematicians and statisticians to analyze this situation. So basically, O'Brien says, I'm descended of Brian Boru, but so is probably Dr. Bashir. But anyway, also, so O'Brien gets to play Brian Boru based on that claim, and also the old school kid rule of, it's my game.
Yep.
So, however, business is not booming at Quark's. It seems to be some kind of Bajoran Lent that we've never heard of before. And nobody is drinking or gambling or going to holosuite pornos. Rom's having a problem of his own with an ear infection, but Quark is having none of it. Even after Rom passes out, all Quark does is dock his pay. Which I feel like Quark is being especially mean in this episode.
I mean, honestly, it's not in your best interest to have sick employees falling over in the middle of your bar. And when there's no one in the bar, there's really no reason not to send him to the medical. It is kind of bizarre, the lengths that he goes to be a jerk boss in this episode.
Right. Yeah, you'd think the reason you want to flex like that is when there's a lot of business and you need everybody on deck.
Yeah.
But it's nothing is going on. So it's what's he going to do? Just stand around, serve more in his drinks all day?
He's going to stand around mixing up various cocktails to pour in his ear.
Yeah.
And discuss the patrons who are here.
Yeah, I don't know what that cocktail was. Did he drop a Minto and some Diet Coke or something?
I guess so, yeah.
That's his home ear infection remedy. So Bashir asks Rom why he didn't come to the infirmary sooner. Rom says he couldn't get time off work. So maybe the infirmary should have better hours?
right?
Like, I know Rom doesn't work 24 hours a day, or 25 hours a day, or however many there are on the station. Then Rom outlines the poor employment terms at the bar, and Bashir suggests they should form a union. As you can imagine, this is not smiled upon in Ferengi society. When Rom gets back to the bar, Lita checks up on him. Rom admits the ear infection is likely due to excessive self-umox.
Yeah, yep. And
a little bit of an overshare for me, but
absolutely an overshare. It is called out in here as the first time masturbation of any sort in any species has ever been alluded to in all of Star Trek.
Wow. But yeah, Rom tries to use this as an opportunity to get a little something from Lita, but she doesn't bite. So interesting tactic, you know.
Hey, you don't shoot your shot, you're never going to make any shots, or however the saying goes.
Bring up your excessive self-abuse, and then try to segue that into something. But, you know, Rom's going to play it how Rom's going to play it. So.
Yep.
So Quark gathers all the bar workers together and announces massive pay cuts due to the drop in business. This news is not well received. Rom begs Quark to reconsider, which he puts on a show of doing, but the decision stands.
Yeah, I don't know where Rom thought this was going, as Quark makes a whole production out of thinking. And he's like, no, yeah, I think we're still going to do the thing that I said.
Yep. Worf and Dax are on their way back from sword practice. Neither one of them has a comm badge on their sword fight outfits, because the script doesn't need them to call anybody today. I'm just gotta call you out a little bit there, Deep Space Nine. They hear some noise in the ceiling, and Worf pokes it with his batleth. A dude falls out with a bag of loot, including Worf's tooth sharpener.
So apparently there's Die Hard style vents that you can just crawl through in DS9 to get into people's rooms or whatever.
Yeah. Or it's in offices where they have the panel ceilings.
Yeah, maybe it's all drop ceilings, yeah.
Yeah, you can just climb up in those and get around, like in Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
If raptors are chasing you.
Or if you're a raptor and you want to chase somebody. Either way.
True. Anyway, Worf is as mad as he's ever been. I think LeVar Burton was just matter. Matter. He was like, my tooth sharpener. He dumps the burglar at Odo's and demands to know what kind of shoddy security operation this is. Stuff like this never happened on the Enterprise. But Odo has been waiting for this day.
He has the pad on top of everything on his desk.
Right.
He had no idea Worf was coming. It's just been sitting there waiting for the moment when Worf said that.
And this is the biggest Odo has ever smiled in the entire show. So yes, he reaches for a pad right there on his desk and starts reading off a list of memorable next-gen episodes.
Rascals.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd say that's a good one, but it's a one.
It's a memorable one, for sure.
Yeah, and then I don't remember offhand what the Berling-Off Rasmussen one is called, but I like that one because I like that actor. He's fun.
Yeah, that was a silly episode. Before he gets to the entire plot of Die Hard happened on the Enterprise, Worf says that he gets the point.
Well, to be fair, I assume you're referring to the Picard and his saddle episode.
Yeah, the one where he has to go back in the...
Yeah. To be fair, on that one, Worf was no longer in charge of security because they were at space dock and everyone was ordered off. It was whoever was in charge of space dock security that it's their fault.
Okay, true. Yeah, Odo probably would have known that and not included it. He wouldn't have left any room for Worf to argue. So Rom calls all the bar staff together and announces the formation of a union.
And the Ferengi are all it's when the Knights Husseini hear...
Yeah, that's right. Oh my gosh. Yes, this is apparently a highly illegal concept.
Yeah, no, can't have it.
But Rom gives them a rousing speech and they're all in.
Yeah, 180-degree turn because of Rom's leadership. Way to go.
He's apparently just a persuasive speaker.
Yeah.
I really think he's missing his calling.
He's wasted at the end of the episode on night shift maintenance or whatever.
So Rom goes back to the infirmary to ask Bashir for more advice about this union stuff. Bashir says he was speaking theoretically, which, what does that even mean? Like,
Right, he suddenly sounds like, I didn't want you to form a union. No, don't put this on me. And I was like, what? Why are you upset?
When I literally said you should form a union and then explain to you what I meant by a union.
Yeah.
Like, that's not what I meant to say. But luckily O'Brien is there getting his cyst treated, and he takes up the cause, calling on the memory of his sainted ancestor, Sean Aloysius O'Brien, supposed leader of the 1902 anthracite coal strike, who I believe does not really exist.
No, almost. I don't think so.
Because I could not. I even there's a link to the 1902 anthracite coal strike commission report that was written by the commission that settled the strike, and like you can link to the whole report and it's searchable.
Wow.
And I searched for O'Brien, and the only O'Brien that comes up is a guy named like Joseph O'Brien or something like that. And he's only mentioned a couple of times.
So there's a page on Wikipedia called List of Worker Deaths in United States Labor Disputes. And there's about 8 known casualties, 2 of them confirmed strikers from the 1902 strike.
Mm-hmm.
On October 9th, a striker named William Durham was loitering near a non-striker's house, which had been partly destroyed by dynamite the previous week, when a soldier ordered him to halt. I guess halt loitering? I don't know. He refused, and the soldier shot and killed him.
I'm going to continue loitering.
Their coal and iron police guarding a colliery were attacked by nighttime gunfire, and the guards returned fire, and the next morning, immigrant striker Anthony Giuseppe was found dead by gunshot. So those were the 2 confirmed workers.
But yeah, O'Brien tells a story of this strike that is just totally wrong. He says it lasted 11 months, it lasted 5 months. He says the workers held out until all their demands were met. That is totally false. They were arbitrated by a commission that gave them basically like a halfway compromise deal.
Yeah, it seems to be, it's like they were working 10-hour days, they wanted 8-hour days, they had to compromise at 9-hour days. So,
although it is relevant because a solution was reached that allowed the union to continue like negotiating, but without the managers having to recognize the union. So,
interesting.
It was like they formed a committee that would address worker complaints or something that was essentially just the union. But like they were not called, they like declared that a victory because basically it was the union being recognized, but the mine owners got to say that they still did not recognize the union. So
kind of similar. Good call. Yeah. There's only one inconsistency in this story called out by Memory Alpha. And it says that the strike occurred in eastern Pennsylvania in the Chesapeake Bay watershed, but the Allegheny River is in western Pennsylvania and the Ohio River watershed.
Yeah. Yeah, I noticed that O'Brien said that he was found in the Allegheny River and he had the biggest funeral in all of western Pennsylvania. So I guess there was a bigger funeral in eastern Pennsylvania. But it doesn't actually say that he was striking in western Pennsylvania. It just said that's where he was like buried or whatever. So anyway, O'Brien's analysis is that strike is inevitable. And he seems to be weirdly like goading the strike on. But,
well, to be fair, we know Quark.
Yeah.
I never had any doubt that Quark was going to be unwilling to listen to their demands, especially given what we've learned about, Ferengi society in that one scene earlier where the Ferengi are like, what? No, that's not allowed. So yeah, I'm 100% with O'Brien here.
I mean, I agree with O'Brien, but at the same time, it's a little weird for a guy who has absolutely no skin in the game, like, and nothing to lose, being like, oh yeah, you should strike and you should hold out the whole way.
He wants to see the drama of the strike. He's as a Starfleet enlisted man, when does he get a chance to see this kind of thing?
Yeah. But yes, Rom is inspired by the story of Sean O'Brien until he learns that Sean O'Brien was pulled out of the Allegheny River with 32 or possibly 34 bullet holes.
No, not just bullet holes, bullets in him.
Oh yeah, there might have been more holes. So, some of the bullets could have fallen out.
Yeah. They could have gone all straight through there. Yeah. Who
Yeah.
knows what happened? But I like Rom hesitates for a second after that, but then he's just 100% in
Yeah.
on this Sean O'Brien story. He's like, you know what? No, that you're right. That makes it even better. Let's do this. I'm not even sure he knows what a bullet is, to be honest, but he's there.
Right.
It's probably not something you want inside your body when you're found dead in a river. I think he
Sure.
can probably like extrapolate,
Yeah.
but
I think Rom can interpret context clues.
yeah.
Well enough. See, later O'Brien gives Worf a lesson on the difficulty of maintaining a hodgepodge of Federation, Cardassian, and Bajoran technology. But he likes it, because at least he has something to do all the time.
Worf is very annoyed.
Yeah. Quark strolls into his bar and finds the entire staff gathered together to present their demands. Quark laughs them off, and Rom calls a strike, much to the enthusiasm of the workers and the worriment of Quark, which there's some great reaction shots in this scene.
It is
Just all
interesting
around.
to me how he's just like, he continues to laugh as they start walking out until like half of them have walked out, and then he's like, oh wait, shit, they're serious.
Yeah.
This is a problem for me.
Yeah, it's like when Rom first calls the strike, it like cuts to a reaction of Quark, and he has this weird, sarcastic, oh no look on his face.
I mean, he probably doesn't think anyone's going to listen to Rom in any way, which kind of makes sense, honestly, but...
Yeah. I also like when he calls a strike, and everybody in the bar does this almost rehearsed, simultaneous fist pump and yell. So
they 100% rehearsed this.
Yeah. He's like, okay, we're going to stand like this, like tall people in the back. Okay, good. Now, when I say the words, I call a strike, everybody put your arm in the air and yell, yeah! And we're going to practice this a few times. So the workers pick at the bar, and Rom pays people not to go into Quarks, which, is that a strike strategy?
Not one that I've ever seen, but I mean, I guess it works for a little while.
Yeah, it sounds like a not a very smart strategy, but...
No, yeah, you're not making any money anymore. Why are you giving away the money that you do have? This is not going to help your strike last longer.
But I mean, Rom comes from a bribe-based society.
That's
so,
true, yeah.
This would be kind of an idea he might come up with. Odo walks in to Quark's to talk to Quark, who turns out to be a fake hologram Quark, which quickly glitches out and drops the glasses.
Why they're walking around with like empty glasses, I don't know.
Yeah, that's a little bit weird. But Quark asks Odo to clear the picket line. Odo is sympathetic, but he has orders not to interfere. He's like, oh man, I so wish I could bust some heads in this strike, but...
Yeah, he's clearly a strike breaker at heart, where he's just like, this is disorderly, I wish I could get rid of it, but Sisko says it can't.
This is really setting off that Odo itch.
Yep.
That authoritarian impulse, but he's got to obey the captain. O'Brien and Bashir camp outside Quarks and try to guess who will go in and who won't. They are shocked to see that Worf goes in. They follow him in and apparently pick a fight. All three wind up in a holding cell, forcing Sisko to come give them a tongue lashing.
Yep. So Ira Stephen Bear based this scene with Sisko like haranguing Worf, O'Brien, and Bashir for brawling upon a similar scene in the 1948 John Ford film Fort Apache, in which John Wayne similarly chastises Victor McLagan, Dick Foran, and Pedro Armendariz.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
According to Bear, any similarities to the Star Trek The Original Series episode The Trouble with Tribbles were unintentional.
Oh, okay. So he wanted to make it. He wanted to make it clear. It's like, no. I was ripping off John Wayne.
Not Star Trek. Shit.
I would never rip off that lame Gene Roddenberry Star Trek. So Sisko decides that it's time to intervene in the strike and calls Quark to his office. Quark pleads that negotiating with unions is against Ferengi culture and apparently also against the law. So Sisko threatens to charge Quark back rent on his bar, which is not how leases usually work, but maybe this lease has a surprise back rent option on it or something.
Well, I mean, from a Ferengi perspective, I 100% believe that there's a clause that, like, if you get away with not paying for a while, you still have to pay all that.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe Quark is just so it's so Ferengi or Federation values are just so alien to him that he might not realize that his lease just gives him the bar for free. Which why does the okay? So I guess this is because back in like episode 1, Sisko blackmailed Quark into staying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I guess to sweeten the deal, he gave him the bar for free or something. So,
well, I kind of assumed that like the lease was left over from the Cardassians, or maybe he like had to do something with the Bajorans to set up this lease. But like the Federation has no desire to collect like money, so there's like
Okay.
whatever.
That's a good explanation. We'll go with that. It's like he's got a 99-year lease on the bar or something, and then the Federation's just like, yeah, you know what? We'll honor that, but don't worry about the rent.
But Sisko has been keeping track this whole time,
Right.
just in case he needs another like moment to strong arm Quark.
Yep, he's been saving up like the power bills and the everything.
Maintenance. Yeah.
So anyway, Quark goes to Rom's and tries to bribe him, but Rom is all in. He's come to the realization that he was never more than an employee in Quark's eyes, so don't play that like brother card on me.
Well, that's because earlier in the episode, Quark's like, no, we're not brothers here. We're employer and employee.
Oh, yeah. He quotes Marx at Quark and sends him on his way.
Yeah, it's funny to me that when Sisko is like, go and hammer out a deal, this is Quark's only idea is, I will bribe him personally, and that will be the deal that we hammer out. Right. I'm not doing anything more than that.
Right. Which makes sense. So Quark returns to his bar and is surprised to be met by Liquidator Brunt. Man, who knew that guy would come back?
Whose voice he instantly recognizes, so, that's...
From that one time he met him, so... All right. And 2 Nausicaans. Brunt is here from the FCA on orders to break the strike by any means necessary.
So... my favorite note is that the 2 Nausicaans are played by professional dart players, James Lomas and Sean McConnell, specifically for the scene in the episode where they throw darts at each other.
Nice.
Got to get a pro in here. Don't want somebody to accidentally get an eye out.
Good casting. Is that a thing that pro dart players, I guess, like just to make absolutely sure that they don't accidentally throw it at each other's faces or something?
Yeah. Or something, yeah. I don't know.
It's like you hire like some other guy to do it, and who knows like what his aim might be. They're
standing like 3 feet from each other or something. I feel like it's going a little over the top to hunt down some professional dart players.
Hey, so the union meets to discuss the progress of the strike. Some have doubts, but Rom is sure that the bribe attempt signals imminent victory. However, they are interrupted by Liquidator Brunt, who shoots a laser at the door or something, and then busts in and starts making all kind of threats, which only scare one guy.
It does really scare that guy, though.
That one guy, he wants to break.
He's immediately, when he finds out it's a liquidator, he's on his knees. Like, it's not my fault. It was Rom's fault.
Right. When Brunt leaves, Rom makes another rousing speech, pointing out that the FCA really has nothing to threaten them with. It's like, dude, if your bank accounts on Ferenginar were worth anything, you wouldn't be working at Quark's.
Yeah. I like when Frules is on the ground, he's like, I'm old. And I'm like, you don't seem that old.
He's just saying whatever. He's throwing himself on the mercy of the FCA.
Well, apparently in the script, it specifically calls out that he's supposed to be an older Ferengi, a senior waiter at Quark's, and the script says this about him. I didn't realize that they put in quite this flowery a description of the side characters, but it's like, Frule's seen the best of times and the worst of times, but has never quite grasped the Latinum ring.
Aw, poor Frule.
Let's see, he's played by Emilio Borelli. I want to see how old this guy is, because he didn't... Okay, Emilio is born in 1950, so he would have been in his 40s.
Yeah.
Here, that's not particularly old. Maybe we don't know how old Ferengi lived to.
Yeah, well, maybe he's lived just like an eventful life or something. He's seen the best of times and the worst of times. So anyway, everybody is inspired once again and returns to the picket line. Worf comes to O'Brien and apologizes for the fight. He says that living on the station is throwing him off his game, and he's decided to live on the Defiant in one of those little bunk bed rooms, apparently.
That's like the only kind of quarters on there, I guess. Even Cisco, as the captain, has to sleep in a bunk bed room when he's on the Defiant. So
yeah, you'd think they'd have like a captain's room, or nope.
Nope, too fancy for Defiant.
Yeah. O'Brien is like, you'll be living out all by yourself, and Worf is like, I know.
Yeah, well.
He's happy.
Bring any ladies I want out there, nobody will even know.
They'll love my bunk beds. Rom walks Lita back to her quarters and then gets a little smooch. So, well.
Yeah, there's, she's going out with Bashir now.
Apparently.
But it says in here, the producers saw the obvious on-screen chemistry between Max Grodenchik and Chase Masterson in this episode, and this is when they decide that later on, maybe there should be something more going on there.
Oh.
So Bashir just got run over by Rom in this episode. Right. It's sad.
I mean,
the Doctor is not the player that he thinks he is.
Yeah. I think Rom's just got some game. It's just a little bit more subtle than people realize. So Quark approaches Rom in the corridor and tries to persuade him to end the strike before Brunt sicks the Nausicans on him, but Rom sticks to his guns as usual.
They'll throw darts at you. Look out.
Yeah. But Brunt comes up with a brilliant plan while the Nausicans throw darts at each other. Someone must be beat up. Rom? No, that would turn him into a martyr. Lita? No, she's too hot. I know. How about you, Quark? So this is why Brunt is in the FCA. He's got that quick thinking.
Yeah, I mean, who else would have thought of beating up the guy on the other side of the negotiation to influence the Union?
Yeah. So Rom visits Quark in the infirmary and basically says, "Ha ha."
Yep. Screw you. We're gonna win, and I hope you get beat up more even.
Which is his lack of sympathy was quite entertaining. Quark fears that they'll both be killed if the strike continues, but Quark has a sudden brainstorm. If Rom dissolves the Union and makes it look like he caved, he'll meet all their demands 6 months from now. But Rom negotiates that down to the end of the week and makes the deal. Then Dax goes to Worf's new room on the Defiant and gives him a mixtape of Klingon operas that he can listen to on the speakers as loud as he wants.
Yep.
Apparently just nobody is on the Defiant when it's not out on missions.
No, yeah. I mean, stuck to the station. You don't need to be.
There's no regular crew on the Defiant.
That's why Thomas Riker can just steal that shit.
Apparently. Dax tells Worf sooner or later he'll have to adapt to living on the station. But Worf counters that maybe everybody else will adapt to him. It's just, yep. Stick to it, Worf.
Yep, you keep pushing him.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll go well.
Then business is booming at Quark's as the strike and the Bajoran Lint are both over. And one of the new customers is Rom, who announces that he's quitting his job to work for the station engineering team, having decided to go his own way.
You can go your own.
Mm-hmm.
So according to Armin Shimmerman, Max Grodenchik was not happy when the character was when he read the script and the character was quitting his job. Huh. He says Max was devastated because he felt that this was the death knell for Rom. I told him this is the best thing that can happen to a character is change, and Rom was changing for the better.
Mm-hmm. And
so then there's a later quote from Grodenchik who's like, Rom did this big thing, forming a union, and then he realizes he has to leave his job. He has to end his working relationship with his brother to retain his family relationship. Rom's a better man than I am.
Yes, like if at the end of the episode Rom goes and gets a job on Ferenginar or something, that's when you need to be worried.
Yeah, it's true. But apparently, this episode is the first one to establish that the planet is called Ferenginar.
Oh yeah, I was wondering about that. I was like, have we heard that name before? But yeah, but they even gave him the line that's like, I'm gonna be in the bar all the time, just sitting on this side drinking my snail juice, which is an alcoholic drink apparently. Either that or the workers just aren't allowed to drink any liquid while they're on the job.
Yeah, I kind of assumed that it was the latter, but maybe it's alcoholic. I don't know.
Yeah. Yep. So from now on, he'll be a customer, but he'll be around.
Yep.
The end.
We'll probably never see him again.
Yeah. That was the last time anybody saw Rom.
What a shame. Just when he and Lita were getting on so well.
Right. When he finally got that smooch from Lita.
LeVar Burton says that he likes the episode. The execution of the idea was whimsical, but the situation was absolutely serious. He says that it's not like other Ferengi episodes that are comedic. This was a serious drama, a power struggle between two brothers, and that's family ties.
I like that way of putting it. It's like a power struggle between two brothers.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it is. It's just...
I mean, yeah, technically it is. I mean, yeah.
Let's see. This is so timely with the writer and actor strike happening right now, and the auto workers strike that has just started today.
I didn't know they went on strike.
Yeah, apparently auto workers have 3 plants have closed due to striking. Like, what 3 companies? It was like Ford, GMC, and one that I'd never heard of. Like, hold on, now I gotta find out. General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis. Apparently, Stellantis, I read earlier today, was like a combination of like a merger several years ago between 2 other automakers, which explains why I hadn't heard of it. Let's see. A merger of the Italian-American conglomerate Fiat Chrysler and the French PSA Group.
Huh.
Including
I've not been keeping up with the auto business world, so...
No, yeah, me either. But anyway, lots of striking happening.
Yeah,
so
when you're listening to this 2 weeks from now, this episode gets uploaded.
I doubt that these strikes will have resolved by then, but
you never know.
It could happen. Robert Hewitt Wolf is like, I'm a strong believer in the collective power of workers. I come from a union family. I'm proud to say I co-wrote one of the most pro-labor episodes in television history, DS9's The Bar Association.
Sure.
I'm not sure where that... did it say where that quote's from? It sounds like it's like a speech he made. No, it doesn't say.
I mean, it could be from like an audio commentary or something.
Yeah. Armin Shimmerman, and I feel like this has come up before, he sits on the board of directors of the Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, this is kind of a big deal to him, where he's like... he says, people think of this as a comic episode, and it is, of course, but in truth, it's really about union management problems. The irony of it is that I play management in the episode, so I thought that to make Rom have a reasonably hard job as a union organizer, I would have to be tough about it, to show the struggle to the audience. Although you don't see it on TV very often, this is something that goes on in America all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you still see Armin Shimmerman, you still see, like, pictures of him posted, like, on picket lines and stuff. He's, like, still out there, like, organizing and doing stuff, so...
I saw some pictures just yesterday of, like, Star Trek actors picketing, although, like, I think it was, like, Jerry Ryan and, what's her name? The other girl from Picard.
Oh,
the picture that I recall seeing.
Yeah, Raffi.
Yeah, Raffi. Oh, yeah, there's LeVar Burton and George Takei together. Like...
Ooh, nice.
I like this picture of LeVar Burton, actually. Hold on, I'll show it to you. It's like he's got this hat on. He's just chilling out there. And, yeah.
Enlarging picture. There we go. Oh, nice.
You got Will Wheaton out there.
He's still technically an actor.
Yeah, he's in stuff. So, yeah, anyway. There's, some cool pictures coming up. Oh, in the pronunciation guide for the episode, in the script, the guide says, when referencing how to pronounce Boru and Clontarf, it says, ask Column.
Nice. Why even ask him? He's the one who says them.
Yeah, like, who else has to pronounce this stuff? Just let him say it. It's fine. I like the writers just came to him. They're like, "Can you pronounce these?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I got that." And they're like, "Okay, good. See, we're done. We don't have to figure out how to pronounce them. You'll do it."
Nice. Yeah, I was kind of wondering, like, did somebody read a book about the history of the O'Brien family or something before writing this episode? But
maybe.
Apparently, this Sean Aloysius O'Brien guy doesn't even exist. So I guess they just heard about the Brian Boru thing and then wrote in the strike angle later.
Yeah, I think they made it an interesting through line that it's like O'Brien has a family history throughout this episode.
Yeah,
and he's very into the workers' rights. He cannot stand Worf crossing the picket line to
right.
get prune juice or whatever he was going in there for.
Yeah, it's like as if Worf like cares at all what is going on here. He's just like he's just got his own things on his mind. He's like, where's that place I can get some prune juice?
Yeah, it's weird that maybe Worf doesn't even know about the strike, but apparently from the description we get, it sounds like O'Brien goes in there and like grabs Worf, and then Worf pushes him, and then Bashir ends up going over a table.
Yeah, we did not see that scene. I can't imagine what happened, but
I'm a little bit disappointed that we didn't see it. But the like hard cut to them in the cell
right
was very amusing.
I mean, it's amusing, but there's just like it's so like out of character for like all three of these guys.
Yeah,
and it's like what?
Some more Armin Shimmerman talking about how he loves this episode because it's a non-comic Ferengi episode, and it gives the audience like a look at the relationship between these two brothers. Star Trek's best asset is that it deals with humanity through the metaphor of the 24th century and through aliens. Sometimes the aliens are more human than the humans are, and that's certainly the case in Max and my relationship. Mm-hmm. Yes, they're Ferengi, but they're also a model for human brothers. The relationship between brothers is a very strange one. It's a very competitive one of pecking order, one of not wanting to show the other one a lot of affection, and we got to deal with that in Bar Association.
Oh, yeah. I guess. I mean, I don't fully agree that it's a non-comedic episode, but
yeah, there's definitely some great comedic stuff in there. He also says the character of Rom makes a great gestalt jump, takes charge of his own life, and steps out of the shadow of his older brother, which was wonderful.
Yeah.
Jeffrey Combs comments yeah, that was a pretty good episode. I remember the big scene where I break the union meeting up that Rom was organizing, and I enjoyed the scene very much. Watching Rom crumble before my eyes. Max was just great in that scene. He really nailed his character in the show.
So in his interpretation of the scene, I guess he only sees it through Brunt's eyes, where he walked in, owned Rom, and then walked out. He's like, oh yeah, that was great. I made that Rom pay.
He's like, I destroyed that meeting. Look, go me. Yep.
Is he one of those actors who like only reads his scenes?
That would be funny, actually.
He's like, oh, is this a episode about the heroic Brunt who comes up and breaks like a horrible corrupt strike?
Yep. And then the only other thing in here is Ira Stephen Bears again. It's like this show was very popular among the staff. They really loved it. We were trying to do what we tried to do with Family Business in the third season and take Rom and Quark one step further. Although Family Business was fun, in Bar Association we did want to make some dramatic points.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think they did.
Sure.
They managed to be fun and say something or other. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, you want to do the title review?
Sure.
So, the original title of the episode was The Bar Association, at least in the script, but it appears as simply Bar Association.
Yeah, I almost typed that when I was typing my notes. I was like, oh wait, is it Bar Association or The Bar Association?
It's also... I love that they needed a bullet for this. It says, the title derives from a pun referring to the name of an association of lawyers.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like you didn't realize it was on so many levels, right? It is.
I would argue that it's on one level, 1.5 levels, and that one of those levels isn't really super relevant to the episode.
Yep.
I mean, I guess they are an association of bar workers, so...
Restaurant and casino employees, yeah. They don't even mention bar in there.
But I mean, there's no... I mean, there's nothing about lawyers in the episode, so...
No. But okay, so how do you rate the title?
I'm going to say... I mean, I think it meets our mark for memorableness.
Yep.
But the attempt at the pun, I think, falls kind of flat. So I'm gonna put it at medium.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, like you said, it definitely, like, you say the name of this episode, I remember which episode we're talking about, no problem. So it meets that bar. But yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it's a bar association, but yeah, you're trying to make a joke that doesn't really make sense here. So
Yeah. I think they could have had another round of brainstorming on that one. You can't just be like me and just like come up with the first pun that like comes into your head.
I in my mind, it always derived from like there's a country song called Honky Tonk Bar Association, which is
Ooh.
like a joke about like drinking and country things, and so because of that, like these two were related because it's like a '90s country song, so like these two are related in my head, even though they probably have nothing to do with one another.
They should have made that the end credits song.
That would have been a switch.
Like do licensed end credit songs for the very first time in Star Trek.
Yeah, that would have been an idea. Yeah.
That's what I would have done if I was the director. But like, I would be going in like doing all kinds of stuff, like off model and stuff. Like,
yeah, why don't we shoot a new shot of the Deep Space Nine model, but from like directly below, and then we'll glue the Defiant on the outside because you need shots of the Defiant out there. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so episode rating. How do you rate this episode? 416 Bar Association.
I really don't have much to say about it. I mean, I do like the Rom character growth. It's kind of fun to take on this subject of like unions and stuff.
Yeah,
it's almost anachronistic because I've been watching the new season of Futurama,
mm-hmm.
and they do things that are just obviously like commentary on stuff going on now, and it really makes no sense that this stuff is happening in like the 31st century.
Yeah,
it's like they're dealing with like Amazon.com and Bitcoin and stuff. I don't know if you've been watching those episodes or not.
No, I haven't seen any of the new ones.
Okay, so I won't say too much about those, but it feels kind of like that, where this type of like organized, union organization or something is sort of feels kind of old timey. And sometimes that would bother me, sometimes not. In this episode, I think it doesn't really bother me, especially, it's a Ferengi episode. So
right.
Those are always kind of fun and loose. But my main complaint is that it just kind of has a repetitive feeling plot where it's like, stop striking, Rom. No. Will you stop striking now? No. And it doesn't, obviously the writers, they tried to escalate it, but I feel like just that escalation wasn't really working. It just kind of felt like the same story beat like 4 times in a row.
Yeah.
And so I was getting a little bored by the end, but I love Max Grodenchik's performance. I love just what they did with the character. I think it's really fun. But I'm overall, and I don't care at all about the Worf B plot, honestly. And there are fun moments like the Odo just so being ready for Worf's like thing.
It's pretty great.
Overall, I think I'm gonna give it a slightly negative and put it at a lieutenant.
Okay, that's fair.
So, what do you think?
This is one of those kind of silly oddball episodes that I like. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I like the Rom stuff. I like I said, the performance is good. Like you said, the character growth is good. I actually like when Lita shows up, although I think that we could go further with her character than the like. Everyone's just like, oh my gosh, how sexy is she? And I'm like, okay, well, I get it. Let's give her a little more character than that. How about?
Yeah, especially if you're going to bring this character, like, bring her back. Have a reason to bring her back. She doesn't really do much other than like. I guess his horniness for Lita partially inspires the strike or something.
Yeah, or something, right? Yeah. You could have expounded on some of the other characters. Most of these, like, other people who work at the bar, outside the Ferengi, who I have trouble telling them apart sometimes anyway.
Right.
But, like, there's some other people who work, non-Ferengi, who work in the bar that you could have given something to, and they're just always in the background. Like, yeah, let's do it.
That's true, yeah. You could have, like, kind of lower decked it. And spotlighted, some just like small fry characters that we don't usually get to spend time with.
And one thing that really bothers me is that, so at the beginning of the episode, Quark is basically like, look, I'm not making any money, so I'm going to have to cut everybody's salary, or I'm going to have to fire people. Like, there's nothing else I can do because there's no money coming in.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, you get the perspective of the people who work there who are like, what? No, I can't, like, Lita's like, I can't afford to take a pay cut. Like, how will I survive? But on some level, you also understand Quark's motivation, where it's just like, if I don't have money coming in, I cannot give you money.
Right.
And I feel like that they could have like gone into a little more like Quark's position, where like in the end it's just like, oh, management really had the money all along, and they've just been trying to screw us over, or because Quark is all of management. Right. But you could have made it a little more, or a little, I guess, less one-sided, where it's like, no, Quark has legitimate concerns with running his small business. And he could bring out like, look, this is how much money we have. I literally could not afford to give you more than this if I want to make any profit at all. It's just like, oh no, Quark makes plenty of profit. He's just trying to screw everyone over because he's a jerk.
Yeah.
Which we brought up at the beginning, that he is like more of a jerk than usual. And I don't think that you needed that in this episode. I think that you could have made it a little more balanced, which Star Trek, I feel like, should be, and not necessarily just one-sided in a story like this. But, you know, that's kind of a small quibble for me. Overall, I think it's an okay episode. It's one that I remember. Like, yeah. It's not one of the ones that's going to slip between the cracks of my memory, and I'm watching, and I'm like, oh, right, this happened.
Sure. I mean, it's a pretty well-known, like...
Yeah.
You see, like, clips of it and stuff posted on YouTube all the time. And I think, I saw Ira Stephen Bear on Twitter or something, even posted, like, a clip or something from it in reference to the strike, so...
Well, that makes sense, yeah. And we get to expand on Ferengi culture a little bit more, even... There's the great speech about how he's going to push them off the Tower of Commerce if they'd been on Ferenginar. Which I like. Both Jeffrey Combs and Max Grodenchik get some great stuff in this episode.
Sure.
Overall, I'm slightly positive on it. I'm gonna give it a Lieutenant Commander.
Okay. On the point of Quark, it's like seeing it from Quark's point of view. It's the way it's presented. I kind of have to question Quark's business sense. In that, is this festival or whatever a surprise occurrence?
Right, yeah, it's true.
Did the Kai just come out and say, okay, everybody stop drinking and stuff for a month? Because most business owners would have planned for this. Mm-hmm. And I kind of believe Rom, because part of his pitch for the strike was like, he's not going to raise our wages back when the thing is over. Like, he's... Well,
right, yeah. Quark tells him, it's like, well, we'll see what the next fiscal quarter looks like. And I'm like, okay, that's way too far. That's more than a month away. That's not cool.
Yeah. That's it kind of comes off like he's using this as an excuse to...
Yes, it 100% does. Which is
to step on the rungs of his employees or whatever.
Yeah. And that's part of my thing, is that, like, we didn't have to play it that way.
True.
Quark has a legitimate concern that he could be like, okay, we're all going to have to tighten our belts here, and they would have a legitimate grievance, and both sides would have a point. And instead it's like, nah, Quark's just evil management doing what evil management does.
Yeah. But I mean, on the other hand, evil management does do evil management stuff.
You're not wrong.
In real life.
Yeah, it's true.
And if anybody's going to be that, it's going to be Quark. So
yeah, okay, yeah, fair point too.
It's not like we're not going to introduce a more greedy Ferengi to come and like it's like the president of the Quark's Bar company or whatever,
and holding company.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, I don't think that Quark's Bar is a wholly owned subsidiary of some massive conglomerate. So, yeah, I mean, that's fair. So, any final thoughts before we wrap it up?
No, I don't think I have any last thoughts on this episode. There's, you said it yourself. There's not really that much to say about it.
Yeah,
honestly. It's just pretty straightforward.
It made me want to watch the, in my opinion, much better Simpsons strike episode. Last Exit to Springfield, which
dental plan.
Lisa needs braces.
Lisa needs braces. Dental plan.
Which has some of the same scenes as this one, but I think way better. Like the scene when Mr. Burns tries to bribe Homer. And Homer thinks it's some kind of like, come on.
You're right. That is better.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I don't think you could do that exact same thing with Quark.
No, yeah, that would be really weird. But,
come up with some fun things to do in these scenes. But anyway. So what do we have to look forward to next episode?
So for the next episode, it's like, picture this. Encino Man meets Veggie Tales.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Just let that roll around in your brain for a bit. It'll get there.
Okay, so I get Encino Man, but Veggie Tales might take a little while making that connection. So yeah, look forward to that. I guess we'll call it there. So if you made it this far, thanks for listening. Don't forget to check the description. Interesting stuff, or relevant, or not, sometimes goes in there. But I'm Fletcher, about to say goodbye as Data.
See ya.
Until we meet again, keep that blood wine warm, and the prune juice chilled, and the workers well treated.
The workers unchained.
Oh yeah.